This episode of Boss Rush After Dark is brought to you by, well, you. If you want to learn how to support our family of podcasts, head over to patreon.com/bossrushmedia or search for us on the Patreon app on your smart device. Thanks for helping us build something better.
Hey, what is up, everyone? Welcome to Boss Rush After Dark, the alternative podcast show for the Boss Rush Network. I'm your host, LeRon Dawkins, and even though I seem very low-key tonight, trust me, I have a lot of energy. So don't let the voice fool you and whatnot. But I will say this, I am also super excited for my co-host to be back here with me, as always. Hi, Stephanie. How's it going?
Doing well. I'm chilling like a villain with my kitty cat here, and I can agree, you barely yawned in the last podcast, so...
I know, what was up with that? What was up with that?
Paying attention, particularly because you brought it up. Like, he's not yawning!
Here, well, it's like it's a thing or something, right? Like I yawn all the time. It's not even because like I'm bored or not checked or checked out or whatnot. Yeah. I think it's the matter that I'm sitting in my computer chair at my desk, and because like I work from home, I'm an IT guy and stuff like that. Like me doing this stuff is correlated somewhere in my brain as more work, even though technically it is work. It is. Yeah. So there's no look inside my this wild and ridiculous brain of mine, but also wild and ridiculous tonight is Corey Derrick. Hey, sir.
Hello, I am here. I'm ready to cast a pod. Look, here's the thing, LeRon.
Mm-hmm.
I know that you've been tired the last couple weeks.
Oh, yeah, I'm still tired.
Take a week off. Stephanie and I can handle this. Just take a week off. If there's
says the guy who can't take anything off.
Yeah, there's that
but
too.
That I could if I wanted to, but I don't want to.
I just poke fun. That's all.
I know. Here's the thing. I want to, or it's not that I want to take a break. It's just that I need more time to do all the things that we do, and there's not enough time. So, anyways, we'll get to that later. I don't know why I had to do this. This is like
visual.
Yeah. So the usual question goes, how is everybody doing? Like it's a Wednesday night, like it's
Tuesday night.
It's a Tuesday night.
It's a Tuesday night. Wow. Thank you.
We're all thrown off by that.
Thank you for correcting me, because like I would have gotten up tomorrow morning thinking it was actually a Thursday. I would have, yeah, which would have been sad for me because the series finale for Star Trek Picard happens this week. And I'm not ready to lose a Star Trek show. I'm not.
But aren't there new ones every day?
I wish. Picard was only promised for us for 3 seasons anyway, so it's just fulfilling its obligation and stuff like that. But still I really hate when my TV shows end. I really do, it's just a thing. And sometimes, and this is why sometimes when like shows are like on streaming sites and, like they have all the episodes laid out, like it's hard for me to like, when I know like it's the final season, it's hard for me to like watch the final season, when they do the Netflix dump where it's like all the episodes of the season are right there in front of you and stuff like that, which is why I kind of appreciate like The Mandalorian, Star Trek, the various iterations of it and stuff like that, having the week by week formula and stuff like that. Speaking of The Mandalorian, like, man, like season 3 didn't start off strong for me, but man, like getting into the finale this week is going to be fucking awesome.
Yeah, I need to catch up on The Mandalorian, but I don't know. I
accidentally binged. I actually binged the entire season up to like the current episode, like over the weekend. It was an accident because I didn't want to watch that many episodes, and then I realized I was like, wait, did I just watch the penultimate episode? Like, is the finale this week? It was wild.
Yeah, I need to catch up. I was watching the Halo show, so I couldn't be bothered by The Mandalorian until that was over.
Cool. And have you finished it?
I did.
Okay. All
Halo
right.
was fun.
I feel like we need to save it for Boss Rush Pod and not After Dark then.
Well, what we should do, LeRon, is do a rewatch.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
So
I mean, yeah, I could definitely stand to see more naked Master Chief. Yeah, I can do that.
it's Master Cheeks, sir.
I think that was a thing on social media for a hot minute while that first season was actually live.
It was, dude. There's only like 2 scenes where they
True.
the internet, man.
True.
Get
But I
over
mean,
it.
but come on, man. Like we all strive to have an ass that we can bounce quarters off of, though.
Look, for like 15, 20, how long has Halo been around? Like 20 years. Everybody's like, "Oh, Master Chief, take your helmet off. Take your helmet off." First thing he does in the show is take his helmet off. Put the helmet fucking back on.
Everybody loses their goddamn minds.
What do you want, guys? Come on. Jesus.
Honestly, I don't even think I want to know what Master Chief looks like. Has he ever taken the mask off in the games?
In Halo 4,
to the point where we've seen his face. I don't care about he takes it off and we see just the back of his head.
No, he takes it off. You can see from like his lower lip to his chin.
So he doesn't look like Anakin Skywalker versus following the volcano.
No, he looks like from here down. He looks like generic white guy. So. To be fair, his name is John. So
what they say about white guys, they all look alike.
Shit. His last name is probably Smith. Oh man!
Spoilers.
Yeah. No, Corey. Like, let's definitely do that. Like, let's collab and get that.
I want to. I think we're going to. So stay tuned for that.
Yeah, the production value of the show is just amazing, and it really pisses me off. It really pisses me off because nobody watched it. Like when it was live. Well, nobody. When I say nobody watched it, because it got seriously good accolades and stuff like that. But when I say nobody watched it, I mean nobody in my circle of friends, or circle of gaming friends who are into Halo watched it, because I don't know shit about Halo. I only played the first game. I played it, and it wasn't enough for it to cement itself with me as far as the lore and all that stuff. So I enjoyed the series, the first season of the series. So yeah, I swear nobody else wanted to watch it.
Yeah, the thing about it with me is I've played through all the Halo games. I think they're fun. The story is not what kept me playing Halo. It was the shooting the aliens with stupid fun guns and driving cool vehicles, right? So guess what? Show nails all that. Cool guns and aliens and cool ships and whatever. I get that Halo has all this lore and people kind of care about the Halo lore, and I'm just like, great, you go care about your Halo lore while I go have fun over here and watch aliens blow up. So kids apparently in the first 10 minutes of the movie.
Oh man,
show the
yo, you know what? Any show or movie that is just indiscriminate about killing kids, zero fucks are given.
Yeah,
because it's one of those things. I can count on both hands the number of times I've seen a movie where kids where kids died and it wasn't actually a part of the actual plot device. You know what I mean?
Oh, I know.
Yeah, shows are about wars and Holocaust and stuff like that. Yeah, you kind of expect kids to die and stuff like that.
Yeah, and Quan's story was secretly the best part of the whole show. That show revolved around her.
Real,
it wasn't
it
wasn't a Master Chief show. It was a her show, and she was cool.
Yeah. Anyway, enough about that.
Enough about Master Cheeks.
Yeah. So just in case you're new here, this is Boss Rush After Dark. This is a show where we talk about stuff that you don't always hear on the other network shows. Check all the details out in our show notes, or whether you're watching on the YouTube side or listening to it on the audio podcast side, and you'll find out not only where to get in contact with me and my wonderful co-host here, but you'll also know how to do things for the Boss Rush Patreon, where you can get shows early. As well as just hanging out with us in our community and stuff like that, and checking our website, bossrush.net. So there you go. We're gonna go ahead and talk about some topics tonight, though, because I know this is what you're in for. And I don't know. We kind of promised that we kind of go back to form, but I'm not sure if this episode is gonna have it just yet. But who knows? Might surprise you.
It'll be fun. It'll be fine.
Yeah. Someone got a topic for us tonight? Because I am fresh out. I have no
Yes,
topics tonight.
I do, and it's something I want to talk about, and kind of you guys have known me for a while, and it's certain things it's easy for me to open up about, and other things it's harder for me to open up about. And this is something I've actually been talking with my wife about quite a bit the last couple months, actually.
Mhm.
uh and so I am going to go get checked out. That sounds bad, but I'm going to go get checked out for um ADHD, anxiety, and depression.
Okay.
Are things that I am going to we are looking for a doctor right now to see what the next step is for any of these things, and if I actually have some of these things, which I know we all have certain levels of stress and anxiety and depression, and um but just some of the things that we've been kind of, because my nephew has recently gotten diagnosed with ADHD, and um my wife was talking to her therapist about ADHD and like what are the signs, and um I'm actually going to talk to her about it too, because there's just all these signs that kind of point to it. And like I'm not like trying to self-diagnose myself. I just want to see like if I do have it, what's the next step, and if I don't, then what is causing certain things
Yeah.
in me to do certain things. Like I don't know, I've had a lot of anxiety over the last few weeks because of a lot of different things, you know, and this and work and looking for a house, and uh just trying to reorganize everything. And I'm always need something to work on. I always need something on in the background. I always need to do a bunch of different things, and I start new things when I am panicking about other things. It's like this whole rabbit hole of things that,
Mm.
and I don't know, it's something that has been bothering me for a while. And um I think mental health is should be taken more seriously by, people who, everybody says it should be taken more seriously. It should, but I think uh, in my case at least, I don't take it seriously at all. I like to not I don't like to admit things, or and it's just hard because, I think we all grew up in a generation where our parents were like, suck it up, bottle it in, take a walk, whatever, and it's like, I don't know. I think that step needs to be taken to, learn more about it and see what I can do to prevent certain things, or focus myself more on doing things that I, enjoy, or not, or if I'm working, like not getting distracted by 75 other things, or not freezing up when I'm panicking about something, just those sorts of things. And so,
Hey, not to be cliche, but I genuinely mean this. This step is probably one of the biggest steps you can take. Like
yeah,
making that decision, like, I am going to talk to a medical provider about it. That's a humongous step. Most people just don't even get there. Um,
yeah.
you
And
know,
it's like, it's one of those things where I'm like, oh, I'll get to it eventually, or I'll do it at some point. I'm just too busy right now. But it's at the point where, like, my wife has been really understanding about a lot of things. And I get another thing that's kind of pointing to it is like I get so wrapped up in certain things of like, I got to do this, I got to do this. And tonight is like a perfect example of like, I was late to our recording tonight, and I was getting upset because I'm like, we have a guest, I have to be here
mm,
at this time, I got to be ready. And sometimes you just got to take a step back and hope people understand that they know why you're late. You have a kid that needs your help, and okay, kids don't always go to bed on time, and like it's really hard for my mind to process that. And like, okay, we're gonna go to bed at 7. We're gonna start our bedtime routine at 7:45. You're gonna be in bed by or asleep by 8:20. I'm gonna go to the bathroom and wash my hands and brush my teeth and get ready for the show, and I'll be ready by 8:30 or 8:35. Right? Like that's how my mind processes the nightly routine, and it doesn't always work like that. And when it doesn't, I get really frustrated. And
Mhm.
I used to not understand why I would get frustrated, because it's just like it's just what happens. But like I'm trying to be better at understanding that it doesn't always happen that way, and that working with people who have kids or are a little bit older and have responsibilities, like understand, like hopefully they understand that, and then my wife also understands that like my brain doesn't always work like that either. So I'm laying there trying to get my son to go to bed. She's like, "Do you have a guest tonight?" I'm like, "Yes." She texted me this, and she's like, "I'll be in a minute." And I said, "Okay." Like, because she like is helping me through this too until we figure out what's really like wrong or what's really happening with my brain, you know? So not really a topic. It was more like a vent, a
Well,
venting.
may I ask? Because by no means am I going to try and diagnose either, because I only have a PharmD, not an MD. But do
Hmm.
you like looking back, the whole hindsight 2020? Do you feel like as a child you potentially had an attention deficit with that was obviously masked by cultural views of, oh, you're just a kid, just suck it up? Like, are you looking
Oh
back and you're
yeah.
like, oh,
Oh yeah.
okay.
Yeah. 100%. And especially with like school stuff, you
Mm,
know, and like I was always very particular of how things should be, even I think that's why something like football came easy to me, because there's like certain, when a play is drawn out, right? And you look at, okay, these defenders are lined up like this, so you got to do this if they're lined up like this, or if they're lined up like this, you got to do this. And it was very specific on like things were very specific, right? Whereas like other sports that I played, like volleyball or basketball, aren't always drawn up like that, and you just kind of have to go with it. And I think those were harder for me to understand. Or like in school, art came very natural for me,
mhm.
and like reading and comprehending was also really hard for me. I don't know why, because that seems like a very specific thing. But certain things in school were very hard for me, but other things came very easy to me.
Okay. I think
I
it's worth
remember those
mentioning.
days.
I actually I had a CE about ADHD, a little bit more on the pharmacological side, but it's really important to kind of look at when adults get diagnosed.
Hmm.
ADHD doesn't really just show up out of nowhere as an adult.
Hmm.
it stems from childhood. It's just that
Hmm.
unfortunately the adults
Yeah.
that got diagnosed are usually because as kids they weren't really given the opportunity to be diagnosed with it. So, definitely I would recommend giving it your childhood history, because that'll be important. No, but I appreciate you
Yeah.
bringing this up because not to, May, we're not in May yet, but we're close to May. May is Mental Health Awareness Month.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you know, there's eh, there's certain groups of people that I've kind of reached out to kind of do something with for Boss Rush. Like Guardians Mental Health is like a Destiny group that is like Stephanie, you
Destiny.
you met them at PAX, and they've been a very strong source for a long time, and mental health advocates and stuff. And just to go back to what you said, have I noticed, like if I go back to like when I was a kid or teens or whatever and noticing certain things, I'm comparing what my nephew's kind of going through now, because he's been diagnosed, and like what he does, and you know what it takes for him to listen to certain things or comprehend certain things. And I was totally like that when I was a
Mm.
kid. And like, instead of like trying to help, my, my parents would just like yell at me and tell me to go whatever, do whatever. And like, that was just how we grew up. And I never really thought about it because it was never a big part of discussion, like, oh, well, maybe I do need help. And, instead of like, when I didn't understand math, right? This is an example that I kind of look at when I wasn't doing very well in math. Instead of like signing me up for like the 101 class basically in like 8th or ninth grade or whatever, my my mom put me in the honors math class because she thought if I was with smarter kids, I would do better.
What type of logic?
Oh.
And like
So
that
that just gave you more anxiety.
and like I was like she put me in like AP physics when
Oh
I
my
wasn't
gosh. Ugh.
interested in science like
What
at
is the
all.
matter? You know
And
what? It just continues to help me realize that like a lot of shit that we go through, in our walks of life as individual adults is all some type of generational trauma.
mhm. Yeah, and so like I just kind of look at things like that where like mixed with like the stress of school and sports and like the art classes I was taking and like all these different things and having my focus spread thin really didn't really do any any favors either.
Oh,
And
I
so
bet.
that was just, I don't know. That was just something I wanted to like. I think that's why I have such a hard time focusing on this too sometimes. Where like I want to do all these different things and I try to do everything and then I realize I can't do it all and then I get really like frustrated or whatever and then and I think that's what we're kind of changing, you know, for Boss Rush stuff is for the better because it's a more focused thing uh instead of trying to throw everything at the wall and see what sticks, and I think selfishly that's going to help me in the long run too, kind of push us, help us do better in a way.
Yeah.
Um,
Be better, do better. That makes sense because the whole point of the spectrum of mental health, mental illness, whatever you want to call it, because it's not concrete like high blood pressure where you have two consecutive readings and it's over a set number and boom, you have high blood pressure. Or you take a test and indicators show, oh, you have a bacterial infection. Like, with mental health, there's really not a lot of real tangible ways to diagnose. So a lot of what's in, I think it's like the DSM, I forget what the acronym is, when diagnosing mental disorders or, stuff like that, it has to do with impact on daily living. So, kind of like what you mentioned in the beginning, like we all have some level of not paying attention to everything. We have bouts of depression and we get anxious over certain things. But when it starts crossing the line to of it being a chronic or mental health type of issue is when those things transcend beyond a depressive episode. Like someone dies, you do get depressed, but it's a situational thing versus being in actual depression or having actual anxiety where it impacts your work and or family life and or
Hmm.
relationships and or etc. So,
mhm.
you know, I can see you talking about, your family life and your professional life and your life with the podcasting. So, it's a lot of self-awareness that you have, Corey, and that's a good thing.
Yeah, and I mean that's something I wrestled with myself too. Is like, well, everybody gets stressed out about certain things, right? And like, I don't know if like the balance is there, or you know what I mean. Like, it's hard to, for me, it's hard to like, how do I want to say this? It's like it's like when like sometimes I feel upset about something, right? That, and we've talked about it on the show before, where like I'm upset about something, but then I like try to put it into a perspective of like, well, somebody probably feels worse than you about
Mm.
something that happened to them because the thing that happened to them was worse. So you don't need to feel like this because somebody has it worse than you. And like I fight myself with that all the time. I'm like, I don't need to feel this way because somebody probably feels worse about something that happened to them. Right. And I fight myself on that all the time too, and my wife is actually the one that convinced me. She's like, "You're allowed to feel upset about something just because maybe something happened to somebody else that may or may not have been worse. You're still allowed to be upset about something that's smaller, you know?" And
Mhm.
Your wife is
uh,
amazing. Like, we need more
oh my
people like
gosh.
her because listen, I get it. I do have a little bit of old school mentality where sometimes in certain situations, yeah, suck it up. But again,
Mhm,
certain situations. And it used
mhm,
to get under my skin when people would say, it could always be worse, or someone out there has it worse than you. It's not like
mhm,
I wanted to be selfish, but it's kind of like, duh, no fucking like, of course, like there's someone who's probably, I hate to like, and I'm not making light of it at all, starving and doesn't have a roof over their head or whatever. I
mhm,
understand that there's a lot worse going on, but I hate how some people like won't let you want to feel, and it could be you, your
mhm.
own worst enemy. It's okay to be upset by something, and it does not need to be a competition of who's having a worse day or worse time.
That's exactly
Mhm.
what my wife said. She's like, "It's not a competition. You're allowed to feel a certain way." And like, but like the way I grew up, it was always that way,
Mm.
where like, you know, oh, like so I remember specifically one time growing up, like I felt really bad about something for like, I don't know, a couple weeks, but I couldn't tell anyone because like my dad had just got laid off, well, forced into retirement from Goodyear. And like I couldn't share how I felt because I knew my dad felt way worse at the time about his situation. And that kind of always was like the event that made me like, oh well, it made that stick in my head where like somebody might be having it worse than you are right now,
Yeah.
and forced me into that. Which, don't get me wrong, losing your job sucks, especially when you have a family
Mm.
at home and you're trying to support them and you don't know what the next step is. And I've I didn't really appreciate it at the time because I was a dumb, I don't know, teenager or coming, going to, I don't know. I don't know how it was like 20, 21, 22 when my dad lost his job. But I don't know. Then my dad made a bunch of smart decisions and I mean, they're fine now, but it's just like that initial shock, and so, but anyways, that was what I was wanting to share.
I appreciate you sharing that. It's
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely.
I wanted to seek a therapist just to kind of get a scope on my what I thought I had OCD um,
Hmm.
back at like the end of high school. And I hate to say it, a lot of it was just probably stemming from my parents. I love them and I still love them, but
Hmm.
generational trauma we can probably go more into another day. But
Yeah.
when I finally ran them ragged, so they caved, quote unquote, and just picked some random nearby psychologist or something. And he took them in first, talked to them. Then I went and talked to him. And then he put us all in one room together. And he looked at me and goes, "There's nothing wrong with you. You can go home." I'm like, huh? Like, what? That was
No.
a horrible experience because then my parents were like rubbing it in my face even more, so I just was miserable. And, I was on their under their insurance for a long time until I was employed post college. That was really the first time I could actually go and finally seek help. And it's not like I definitely have a disease and I need to take pills to the answer. No, I just like felt I was banging my head against the wall. I was barely functional. There was a time like a lot of my initial OCD was like knocking or tapping, like so obsessively that sometimes I would be late to things cuz I needed to like complete what I was doing or else my brain wouldn't let me leave. I know it sounds weird to describe.
I mean, I
So,
used to do that too. Like
oh, I
tap,
feel like,
like I had to tap like a certain amount of times on the table or something,
oh my gosh, I'm not
or like
alone.
no, like I used to tap. Used to have to tap like when I was just like if I was waiting on something and I just had to tap. I had to tap at least 8 times the table. Like my hand would like I'm kind of mimicking it on my desk right now, but nobody can see, so I don't know why I'm telling you that. But like I would just have to like tap like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then I could like go do something else, and it was I did that for a while, especially when I was like really nervous about something or like I knew that something was going to happen that my parents weren't going to be very happy about, or you know if my if my cousin did something wrong. My cousin lived with us for a while, and if she did something and she wasn't home, I would usually get the raw end of the stick, even though it
Mm.
wasn't my fault, and I would be like really nervous. I'm like, I would sit there and tap, or I would like, you know, sit there and I would be like frozen, because I knew something was going to happen and I would get the raw end of it. because,
Oh, it sucks.
uh,
But it's that's where I just pushed forward to seek help. It wasn't like a pity thing. It's just like I just want to see what's up. And
yeah.
years of therapy later, and unfortunately, a lot of trial and error with medication. Thankfully, I'm down to a good therapist, and I went from several meds to just one, and hopefully one that I won't need to be on for the rest of my life. So, and I'm in, knock on wood, the best headspace that I've ever been in my entire life right now. So, I wish you luck, Corey. I'm glad you're kind of putting your feelers out there, and doesn't
Hmm.
hurt to just chat with a provider, and hopefully whatever provider you do get is a good one, because unfortunately there's some shitty ones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, my sister-in-law has a pretty good therapist that my wife just started going to, and I don't know. I mean, I don't know if that'd be like a conflict of interest or not, but like they really like her, and even if I don't stay with her, I think I'm going to start there just because they trust her and it makes it easier for me, you know.
Uh,
So, um and then I don't know, I'm going to go to the like a doctor in a couple weeks to get everything else kind of squared away and figured out, and you know, that kind of thing. So, it
Nice.
just it took a long time for me to get to this spot, this headspace, and I don't know, especially with like a lot of things that happened last year with like I don't know, actors or people that I looked up to, right? And like suicides and stuff, because like they never really looked like they or seemed like they were unhappy or in a headspace. And I don't ever want, not that I'm like suicidal or anything, but like I never want anybody to wonder either that's close to me about, are you really okay? Are you,
Mm,
or like, that kind of thing.
yeah.
If you want to be a Patreon producer, head on over to patreon.com/bossrushmedia, and find out which tier is right for you. Our Patreon producers at the $5 tier or higher for this month are Adriel Munger, Austin Campbell, Celeste Roberts, Christian S., Sana Dierig, Francisco Santillan, and Rebecca Jewell. Thank you for your continued support.
Yep. I'm still pitching a no hitter as far as
I thought you were
topics.
going to
So
say I thought you were going to say pitching a tent.
no, no, no,
Oh,
no, no. We're obviously not doing that type of episode tonight. Not with you. Not with you laying it all hot and heavy about I'll add this real quick to your topic. When I was a kid, I definitely was diagnosed with attention deficit hyperactive disorder.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember, but my mom said I was put on medication for it for a while. But the medication, I believe it was Ritalin. But she said she did not like the way the medicine reacted with me and stuff like
mm,
that, so she didn't have me on it long and stuff like that. But I do know this: my brain is like one of those. It's everywhere all at once. And even now, like, sometimes like it's hard to gather focus, and like a while back I used to say I was pretty good at multitasking, and then I learned like in the last month or so that I am terrible at multitasking. And like
Mm,
multitaskers, and ADD and ADHD are not, like common things,
mm-hmm.
and stuff like that. And like it's got me at this phase where, like, 47 years old, like I'm starting to question myself and things. I had an aptitude for math and science and stuff like that, and now it's just like, man, like my brain literally breaks sometimes when I have to like do things beyond the scope of like simple math.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Yeah. Oh yeah.
yeah, like my job, like it's tech, sit at a computer all the time and stuff like that, and it's easy to get distracted.
Oh yeah.
um yeah, and sometimes it just feels like my brain is the biggest hindrance and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I totally get where you're coming from. And it also doesn't help that I'm kind of like empathic. Like I tend to feel things, especially like when other people are feeling things too and stuff like that. And that also can put me in a different headspace, like where times when I'm like I need to focus, but like I'm just worried about what other people are thinking or doing or how they're acting and stuff like that. And it's yeah. So
Yeah. I
let us know. Like, you don't have to say it on the show, but let us know. Like, Stephanie and I know like how this journey goes.
Hmm.
yeah. I also wonder if like undiagnosed concussions from playing sports, especially football, have anything to do with like the way my brain has evolved over the years. Or not that I like played in the NFL or anything, but I did play in college for a while. And like I don't know, I just playing football since the first grade is like, there's a lot of, especially they definitely weren't the same rules 25 years ago than they are now, right? Because like you can't even make contact now until like middle school now, I think. And we were doing full contact sports since first grade. And
Hmm.
I just think your brain probably changes over time.
Yeah, your
uh
brain's still developing at that
yeah.
young age.
Yeah. And I just certain things too, like I used to be able to remember like everything. Like
Hmm.
I can memorize things like super easy, and now like I forget things after like 10 minutes, and it's just
Mm.
it really
Hmm.
bothers me too. So I don't know. Not
No,
that
I'm even
I don't
worse.
know if
I'm even
that
worse. I've gotten to the point where like I walk out of my room, know I forgot something, walk back into my room, and like, what the hell did I forget?
Mm. I have not played a head injury-ish like sport. I mean, karate I've been thrown around a few times, so it's not perfectly related, but quickly on memory. I think for me, because my memory is I really do think there's something wrong. Like, no jokes aside, but it's only been recent. Or
hmm
it started with after I had Nikolai, so everyone's like, "Oh, it's just baby brain." Because I don't know, I've heard people throw that term around, baby brain, whatever.
I've never
hmm
heard that before.
But honestly, I think it's part of burnout. After being put through pharmacy school, kind of almost against my will, and busting my ass too much, I just feel like my brain just doesn't want to remember some things. And then also, kind of the assault was kind of the third and final straw where my brain's just like, we're gonna black out a few things. We don't need to remember everything.
See, this
So
is why I'm like, man, like, what type of fucking quack ass doctor were you seeing that, like, you survived an assault, and like they literally walked in a room and told you in front of an audience that there was nothing wrong with you?
yeah, pretty much. So.
I'd have made demands to have his license reviewed.
it's crazy. Just we
Well, do we have time for one more?
can if we want.
I mean,
Why?
I
What's your
guess I'm
topic,
I'm
Lauren?
I guess I'm the host, but still, like I kind of like to like keep the floor open, if necessary. Stephanie, was there something you want to talk to us about?
Oh, mine would be like a quick one. It's just more on the topic of trust and trusting others, because when you're
Mm.
younger and more naive and the world's a much better place, you like to give everyone the benefit of the doubt and kind of trust everyone. As people get older, some maintain it, but maybe with a bit more of a wiser eye, and some just completely trust nobody unless they earn it. So I just kind of want to do like a quick round circle of kind of how does everyone delegate trust nowadays? Like, I unfortunately am still a very trusting person. Now, granted, I'm not as naive as when I was younger. Like I have my wits about me, but I'm still a trust innocent until proven guilty, trust until it's broken kind of person, which I think comes to my detriment in many cases. But I'd like to see with you guys, do you trust first until it's broken, or do people need to earn your trust? And if it's the latter, what usually is required for someone to earn your trust?
That's a I mean, I'm definitely a trust first person. I know that's kind of, and I not that I want to admit this, but I feel like I'm a little bit more naive to things than I would really like to admit to. Just because I want to believe so much that most people are good. Um,
Well, you're not alone there. I'm kind of like that.
yeah, and so I like to think that people are good and uh have good intentions, and I know in the long run that's not always the case, but I like to think the people that I interact with, at least, or are going to interact with, are good. And so I do trust people, and then as you know, as we get to know as I get to know people, right? Like, then I kind of start making my judgments there of like, oh, well, I would totally trust you to do this, 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 and this, but I don't know if I would trust you to do this type of thing, you know? Um, so that's kind of where I fall. And what I mean, I like to think that I'm a trusting, people would trust in me to do things too. I don't know what I would have to do to gain people's trust or have them do to gain my trust, because I just kind of default to, hey, sure, I trust you, like, I mean, the whole system though is built on trust, right? Like, we go into stores and gas stations and, like, yeah, there's security measures, but like 90% of the time it's just built on trust that you're going to carry this item to the cash register and pay for it, right? I mean, like,
Mm.
or the gas station, right, where like you go in to get a drink or something at the gas station, and they totally trust that you're just not going to walk out with something, right? And uh you're going to trust that when you put your debit card in the slot reader, that somebody didn't put one of them, things in it to, to steal your information, right? It's all, I don't know. That was way deeper than this topic probably was anticipated.
No, I'm glad. I was like, oh man, I'm hoping this isn't a lame topic. And they'd be like, yeah, or whatever. I don't know. Because just real quick, like one of my like a friend of a friend told me, uh, like they have a tattoo. Don't uh don't trust anybody or trust no one. I'm like, that's a to
Yeah,
tattoo that on your body, something messed up must have happened.
yeah, that's
Well,
a
they
statement to stand
trusted
by.
someone enough to put that tattoo on their body. So what the hell,
Yeah,
Yeah. All right, LeRon, how about you?
I feel like I'm 50-50 for the most part. Like for the, like it's like I think I do a good. I think I give my trust pretty easily, but I have a caveat though. Like if my first impression of you like comes off as like I don't know if I can trust you, then you have to kind of work for that. I'm not saying that I just will like just completely like blockade you and whatnot, but like it's one of those things where it's like I need you to prove it, you know, and I don't like doing that because it feels like I test people when I do that, but like sometimes, and this is it's kind of the weird thing, like first impressions, can be a bitch sometimes, because someone could just be having an off day, and like the way they come at you is not the way that's ideal for both you or that other person and stuff like that. So I do have so yeah, I like I said, I'm kind of 50-50. Like, like for the
Hmm.
most part, I will like like give you the trust and respect like right up front and stuff like that. But sometimes people catch me sideways, and I was like, let me keep you at arm's length for a moment, just to see how you are,
That's a
and that's
really
all.
excellent point.
Yeah, yeah. Uh, I also feel like Corey does. Like I can be pretty naive sometimes, and I think back, like when I was fresh out of high school and stuff, like I was in the military and stuff, and there was a lot of people I gave my trust to that should not have gotten it, and
See,
stuff like that.
I would have thought being involved in the military would have made you more like or like less trusting of people in a way. Not that I'm like judging the government or the military or anything, but like you know
Mm.
what I mean? Like I feel like a lot of people, at least around here, a lot of people that I know that were in the military, like totally don't trust the military or the government.
Oh yeah, I don't. Oh yeah, I don't have the best trust in the military or the government now. But growing up as an army brat and stuff like that, living kind of that life and stuff like that, it's kind of one of those things that like I just wanted to be a part of and stuff like that. So yeah, so there's some more of that naivete coming back, But
Hmm.
yeah, but
Now, there's
for
something
the
to be
most
said
part,
about. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
uh, I was just gonna say for the most part, like for the most part, I'll trust you, at the beginning, and then if you do something to damage that trust, like it might take a little while to work it back up because I actually thought about doing this for a topic a while back, and it probably will come up at a certain point, and the way men are, like men are always trying to validate themselves to other men, whereas
Mm.
like superficially it looks like there's always a competition going on between guys, like who can flex bigger, who has the most money in the bank account, who has the nicest car, who has the prettiest wife or whatever and stuff like that. but but at the end of the day, men are always trying to get validation from each other and stuff like that. And something I've learned just from watching people and is that is that when another man like realizes that you've lost respect for them, they it's like watching someone dig themselves out of like a well that's just filling with water. Like they are trying their best to like get that respect back and stuff like that. Even if they don't even understand why you lost the respect from in the first place. I've had some people, like like they found out I lost respect for them, you know, but it wasn't because I directly told them, and stuff like that. And man, like it's like, like I said, it's crazy like to see like the shenanigans and the hoop jumping that they'll go through to try to get. And this is just on men. Like I don't like I'm not gonna say I completely understand how women are. I know women play a different game. As far as things go, and but I'm no expert, so if I was an expert, I probably navigate more, like male female relationships.
Hey, you know what?
It-
I am a cis female, and I don't fucking understand how females operate. Maybe that's why I'm very tomboyish because I think my psychologically I'm more.
Mhm.
I don't want to say male because now I'm just doing the binary thing, but the yeah, male thing. I don't know where I was going with that.
Well,
Sorry.
here's what I know. I appreciate women that have more of a male oriented brain, because like they're less prone to irrationality, and which means like I don't wind up in like really weird ass arguments with them about shit that like makes zero goddamn sense. It's one of the things that I always like. We will definitely say this for another topic because I don't want to get too bogged down into it. But it's just one of those things that it's like, man, like I love women, but I can't put up with the bullshit sometimes.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah. No,
Yeah.
I definitely want to put a pin in that and revisit it because I have plenty to contribute to that too. But it's also funny not to keep going on this, but you keep mentioning things, Laurent, that make me think of other things that I see or hear in my life. When you mention, men seeking validation from other men, and I'm like, there's a couple people like horror stories I hear about some douchebags at work. They must be narcissists because they don't really follow that law, so to
Oh
speak. Like
yeah.
there's this guy who And he's young, so he's 26, so to me that's super young, and he is kind of supervising like a construction group, and he all he does is talk about all the chicks he wants to bang and whatever. But
Mm.
then if another guy were to kind of not even criticize him, but maybe just say something that he like, I don't know, some guy must have like challenged him, or not in a mean way like fuck you. It's more like, "Hey, I don't think this is right," or "Hey, whatever." Guess what? That motherfucker slashed that dude's tires. Like he just went and like retaliated. Sorry, I'm like going on a slight tangent, but it just made me think of, I don't know where I was going with that actually. I
Well,
don't know. It's late. Hopefully, you're picking up what I'm putting down, LeRon.
yeah, I am. Yeah, I can say this. It's not so much that he's trying to pick up he's trying to get validation from like the other person, or one individual. He's trying to get validation from everybody,
Mm.
where it becomes, and it's definitely a toxic masculinity trope to say that for sure. Nine times out of ten, it's a daddy complex, or mommy complex. Because like our parents are hard on us in certain regards and stuff like that. Like I've got people now who I got people now in my life right now who I hear them talk about like the drive just to be like the man, and it's not even like in that dude bro sense, it's like like for example, like I heard someone say, like if they could never marry a woman that had that has had OnlyFans at any point at any time, and I'm sitting up here like, why? Have you seen this goddamn economy and stuff like that? Have you seen it? Shit, you know.
And I would challenge that guy. I'm
It,
like, "Are you telling me you've never been on an OnlyFans or heck, even porn? Like, come on, double standard, dude." Anyway.
Yeah, yeah. His logic was like if she is the object of the OnlyFans, and stuff like that, and I'm like, hey, like my whole thing is like make money however the fuck you can make money. I mean, like shit, like it's only gonna get worse,
Yeah.
and stuff like that, and but the reasoning why, well, like because at first I thought it was like more a disrespect to the woman. It's more that what are the other men gonna think?
Oh, interesting.
And you know what? I live a life, well, I try to live a life where I say I don't care what other people think, but that's kind of a lie because I do care, but at the same time, this is gonna sound very after dark, but if you aren't sucking my dick or paying my bills, I don't care what the fuck you think.
You know, I see other guys actually like almost pimping out their girls on OnlyFans. Like, hey, check out my wife who's on OnlyFans. So it's just interesting to see like the two ends of the spectrum there.
Yeah, sometimes the men are like the managers of the
Yeah,
woman's stage show. I mean, it's the same. I mean, it's not the same, but it's the same concept as like Twitch streamers, right? Where like a lot of major Twitch streamers like Dr. Lupo or Gothalion or Ninja, like their wives are their managers. And, I mean, they stream on the side too, but like they're the managers of their husband's kind of persona. And so OnlyFans is kind of like the opposite of that, which is crazy.
yeah,
So,
it's just some weird shit. And we
yeah.
can talk about this more in depth on another show, like when we want to talk about like the craziness of
We
how
want to talk about boobs.
yeah,
Boobies.
yeah, that. Well,
Uh,
I think that's our show for tonight.
Well, thanks for letting me throw in my topic on trust.
Oh yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah, definitely, yeah.
I
Uh,
One last thing on trust though. I feel like it's
yeah.
become easier to trust people as I've gotten older
Really?
and as my work environment has changed.
Hmm.
Mostly because I worked in a restaurant for 12 years and the type of people that work there are not always the best people, I would say.
Oh, I bet.
Including me
I
at
bet.
one point, probably, if I'm going to be honest with myself. So, but again, I guess we should wrap up.
All right. Well, that's going to do it for us for this episode of Boss Rush After Dark. We want to thank you all for hanging out and listening, hanging out and or listening to us. It's always been a pleasure. On behalf of Stephanie and Corey,
Pleasure.
I just want to go ahead and say that you're doing yourself a disservice if you're at least not thinking about being a patron for the Boss Rush Network. So definitely like think about that. Like I said, all the information for how to find out about how to get in contact with us, as well as how to like check out things that are happening on BossRush.net, as well as our Discord, our Patreon, and all that stuff, can be found in our show notes. So be sure to do that. Let us know, like, hey, hit us up in some chat and let us know how easy it is for you to give away your trust, or if it's something that someone has to work up to. We'd like to know some things about that. And just take care of yourselves, take care of your mental health, and do the things that make you happy, because life is short, and you got to have more fun, So on that note, we're out. We will be back for our all new episode of Boss Rush After Dark. And just remember, we are the show that we talk about the things that aren't always content appropriate for our other anchor shows here on the network. We love you and have a good night.
Night.
Good night. Bye.
Sleep tight.
Farewell.
So long.